Hello. Greetings, episode 430.
Woo!
Hello, Sarah.
Hello. If you are wondering if we are recording, we are, Susie. Don't worry. Because last time we were not, and we got about 20 minutes into this episode or so. And I looked down and I was like, I wonder where we're at.
You know what?
And I'm like, we're at 0. Oh, no, we're not recording.
You know, we have avoided a lot of technical mishaps.
Yeah.
So we were kind of due for some sort of
Okay. That makes me
incident.
feel better.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of like Qantas Airlines. Don't fly.
So?
I don't know.
They've never due for a crash.
Yeah.
Don't you love that bit that Chris Rock does about how people say, you know, within cops, there's a few bad apples. Have you heard this bit?
No, I haven't. Tell me.
When he's like, that sounds almost nice. Like, it's just a few bad apples. But I'm sure it is. And I know how hard it is to be a cop. But there's some professions where you can't have a few bad apples. Like pilots. Yeah. He's like, what if American Airlines was like, most of our pilots like to land? You know, you kind of need all of them to be good.
Absolutely. Oh, my God. That's
Anyway.
fucking funny and so true.
How are you, my love?
Also, pretty good Chris Rock impersonation, Sus.
You know what? I toned it down because I didn't want to be offensive.
Michael Scott.
Yes. But I did it for Adam, and he was like, that's a really good Chris Rock. Like, that's just for you.
That's just for him. Oh, that's funny. How are you, Sus?
Doing okay.
Yeah?
Yes, we were talking on the one that we didn't record. How did we move into the conversation? Oh, you were saying about your carpet?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
you
my
got
gosh.
a new carpet.
Yes, that things are looking up for us because, like, it was like as soon as I finished decorating the office, we had that leak. So then I had to clear, and then they had to come and clean the carpet. So then I had to clear all the stuff that was ever in the office and the closet, which is all my books and everything, out of the closet. And all that stuff was just living in the middle of our living room and in our bathroom, which is so annoying. For a week, we had to walk around a bunch of stuff. And that makes you feel like the whole house is messy. So we finally got everything, put back, and the carpets are dry. But, they did that good old, like, hey, first we're going to try to just clean them instead of replacing them. And then we'll see. And Ren and I are like,
do you think that when they
like a
do
real
that,
thing?
that they're just trying to see if you'll go for it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
For sure. Absolutely. Because they're like doing the math. Because a lot of times, I think they have to replace carpets sometimes when you move out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been, so if I'm like 80% through my lease and I have a flood, they're going to be like, let's just clean it. No worries. Because they have to, that's going to be like 2 times in a year they have to replace the carpet. So these guys are like, yeah.
Let's see if she'll go for it.
Yeah, and I'm not going for it.
She's
Because,
not going for that.
No, Ren did some research. He did a little digging online, and he found out that it said, like, the top of the carpet will dry, but if you get the what is it called, carpet pad wet, you have to replace it because it'll just grow mold and bacteria.
Yeah, that's
and then
disgusting.
they tried to tell us this one was a real kicker. They tried to tell us that it wouldn't grow mold or bacteria because they needed you need like biological material to grow that, and that's not. And I'm like,
it's like
what
Bill
makes
Nye.
You
Bill
think
Nye
it's
is
not
your
there?
landlord.
I'm like, what? So we have, come on, what? Yes, it will grow there. Everybody knows that. If it's like a sponge. And everything that's gross that's on the carpet and was in that water is now in the... This is not difficult for me.
She's had it.
I've had it. Man. And, oh my God. I'm also mad at them because they released the info about the pool. And, Suze, you already know this since I told you and complained to you all last time. Right. We have like 400 to 600, Ren and I estimated, like people who live in the apartment complex. And we have a pool. And there's a spa attached to the pool, like a hot tub, and who doesn't love a hot tub? It says that the maximum occupancy at any given time for the spa is 1 person.
Yeah,
who the hell wants to take a hot tub by the... That's the loneliest hot tub, and what are we going to, like tag team each other?
The loneliest hot tub.
The loneliest hot tub there ever was.
This reminds me of when you had a hopeless tooth.
Oh my God. The lonely hot tub.
Hopeless hot tub.
Oh, I'm going to draw a picture of that, just like I drew a picture of the tooth. Just like one person in the hot tub. You know what? That's actually a hilarious New Yorker waiting to happen. One guy alone in the hot tub is saying, like, I'm so glad they released restrictions on.
Right. Well, because
it makes it worse.
My objection is, I think that makes sense. Unless you live together already, then you should be allowed in there at the same time.
Yes.
And you're telling me they don't care if you live together.
They don't. They were just like maximum occupancy 1.
Personalized hot tub use only.
And it's so big. It's so big. I already took issue with the occupancy that they had listed before because this thing is so big.
How many people could it fit?
At least an entire season's worth of cast members from the challenge in this hot tub.
That's huge.
Yeah, and they say like max 12.
Sarah, if you see some idiot in there all by himself, you have got to take a picture.
Oh my God, I so will. Because I'll have so many questions. I'm like, is this guy who's riding because I assume it's a guy who's doing this. I don't know why. Because like it seems weird. And then the other thing that's odd about it is that the pool and the spa are in the middle of where all of the apartment balconies face. So it's like you're taking a solo spa with
but your audience is hundreds of people.
Yes. Which is so fucking weird. Like they're just like watching you relax and like there's no way to like look. I don't know. It just is funny to me. I saw this and I told Ren, because I was like, get Ren. I can't wait. And then I had to think for like 5 minutes about what was the funniest way to deliver this information to him that I know he was going to crack up about.
Now I need you to get in the hot tub and have Ren take a picture of you in there by yourself.
Yes. And watch Ren comes over to the side to feel it and somebody comes out with a whistle. One person. We said one person.
Illegal.
Distancing.
Like
they said no inviting any friends. How about that?
Oh, right. So they can't pick up the poo in the hallway, but they can monitor how many people are in the hot tub.
Come on.
And then I asked you if you had seen Corey lately because he lives in your building, and then you weren't aware that MTV had canceled his baby special with Taylor because of her racist tweets.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I have not seen him. I have not run into him. And the last time I saw him, he was talking to me about, it wasn't even that long ago. It was like maybe 2 weeks ago or so. And he was telling me all about how the baby special was going to air. And there was no hint about it not airing.
Right.
But that was also before his, do you think it's the combo of what he said and what she said?
No.
It's just her.
Because he's African American. So, I mean, he
had to put an apology up because he said he didn't identify. He identifies as white or something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm sure people were offended, but basically I think the MTV would think, well, he can say whatever he wants about himself. Yes, he can.
Yes, for sure.
But she is a white lady talking about, well, she was young at the time. This was from 2012. I think she was a teenager. But what I said before is the weird thing is that they used this as a plot device on last season, and now they're canning her over it. So it feels a little weird.
Yes.
And people have a lot of opinions about all that.
Yeah, it is. I just don't. This is stuff like when they used it before, and you know, like I was telling you, it's only the women who are getting the slap on the wrist. I know there are countless racist things that Johnny has said on there. Yeah. For sure. I remember an interview with him and Nani where he's who do they always like to do it to? Johanna. And they would always be like, I'm not even going to repeat it. It's awful. Just, you know, things offensive about being illegal and offensive stuff. And everybody laughs. That. Yes. And I swear to God, there's like a montage online of this that I remember somebody sent me before. I know I've seen this.
Well, and I think with the D situation on the challenge, she was making these comments right now. And so that was, to me, felt like a no-brainer.
No-brainer, right.
This is a little more complicated because she did it a long time ago, and they used it as sort of like, I used to be this way, but now I've changed.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. But companies, I think, are really having to make some tough decisions. And I think I told Sarah before we started recording, I think a lot of people are shitting their pants worrying about what's in their Twitter history for whatever job they have, maybe getting fired.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
Well, and you know what? It's a time to, like, call out how I remember, I was talking to Ren about things that I regret. And I remember there was a moment on the challenge when I remember exactly where we were. It was on Rivals. No, X's too, when I was with Jordan, and we're all sitting around talking about something about that had to do with like the prison industrial complex or like the mass incarceration of people of color and especially the Black community. And I started talking about that, and Johnny said, "Oh, that's just your white guilt," and like everybody.
I remember that too.
Yeah, and I felt ashamed. I felt so like I should be the one embarrassed. And and I was like, that's some fucking bullshit. Because if that happened, I would be like, I wish that I had the awareness or knew about that, like racial gaslighting and what all that, and how that's not even the definition of white guilt. To like, and I was, and now look, I'm like, oh my God, that is one of my biggest regrets, is not being like, no, we are like, you're the idiot.
Yeah, being more outspoken.
Yes, I wish I was. Oh, so moving forward, it's like, no, I'm not. There were times in the class where I would be like, they'd be like, oh, and why do you think this is like this? And I'd be like, because of fucking white people. And everybody in class would be like, Sarah. And I should have been like, what? Tell me why it's not that as the answer. Go ahead, fight the other side. Because I'll absolutely argue this all day long. And so, there you go. And now I'm going to do that. So now I'm all fired up. I'm like, give me somebody to talk to. I'm in the mood to teach.
While you're mulling that over, I just want to encourage people to get hydrated and use Liquid IV.
Yeah,
everybody
I need
knows
hydration when I'm this worked up.
Yeah, if you're going out to fight the good fight like we are, you got to be hydrated. And so you can take one of these little packets. It's flavored. They taste great. Pour it into your water, and then you get hydrated at 2 to 3 times the rate of just water alone. There's essential vitamins in there. It's super convenient to take in your purse or in your car. And it's available everywhere. Liquid IV is available nationwide at Target, Whole Foods, and Costco. Or you can get 25% off if you go to liquidiv.com and use CANDY at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you use promo code CANDY at liquidiv.com. Get better hydration today at liquidiv.com, promo code CANDY. You can also find them nationwide at Target, Whole Foods, and Costco.
Yeah, man.
So there you go on that. But yeah, it's an interesting time to watch brands, companies, and individuals navigate a world where we won't tolerate racism.
Yeah, I love Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, they have always been very progressive.
Yeah, buying all their ice cream. I'll give them all.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to support.
Yes,
support the cause
totally
and your
them.
Taste buds.
Yes.
Okay, so I am super into this fun story and that I've been following, and I got it also from a Brainiac, and it makes sense because they knew that we would be into it. I think we may have even talked about this a while ago on the show, but there's an update. So an author had created a sort of like a treasure hunt with one of their poems. This guy wrote a poem, and in it he said he included clues on a buried treasure that he put somewhere. Cool. And he wanted to encourage his readers to get out into nature and have some fun with their families or whatever. And this has been going on for 10 years. People have been looking for this treasure.
I do not remember this story. Yeah. This is so great, and I absolutely love it. And talk about a fun, it covers so many bases.
Right, it's two of our favorite things, nature and reading.
And add another
and
one,
treasure.
adventure and treasure. There's so much. And like togetherness.
I know. It's a great idea. Here's the downside, and this is...
Oh, no. Right, Susie?
No, there's only... Well, I mean, okay.
Okay.
Well, people got really
Such a roller
into
coaster.
it, and so some people did die.
What?
Looking, it's not funny, but looking for the treasure, there were some mishaps. But that was just an unfortunate incident. Stop making me laugh about it.
I literally have said 0 words.
But it's because you were so excited, and I am too. But then I just had to note that there were some downsides to this idea. Okay, so
Before anybody goes off and turning their literature into other treasure hunts, people may die.
So he buried it in the Rocky Mountains, and but he's an older guy. I think he was 70 when he buried it. So people kind of thought, well, if he could get the treasure to this spot, how hard could it be? But I guess some people just got off course and kicked the bucket. But regardless.
Or what if you're following the wrong clues?
Right. So all that people knew was that it was in the Rocky Mountains, and then they had to use the poem as a guide. And it's worth $1 million. And so you can imagine.
Oh, my God.
Some people even quit their jobs to go looking for it. Well, the hunt is over. Someone found it, and he or she is anonymous, but they did send a picture of it to the author, so the author knew that the hunt was over. The only thing that's annoying, I mean, aside from the death and destruction, is that they never said where they found it. So, like, let's say you were looking for it. Wouldn't you want to know if you were close? If you had gotten even close to it?
Yeah.
So that part annoyed me because I was like, well, where was it? I mean...
Well, what is it that's $1 million? Gold?
That was like, like jewels and like kind of like a pirate's
a real
booty.
Buried treasure.
Yeah.
Pirate's booty. It's funny every time.
Because it looked like coins and jewelry and stuff like that.
Like your stereotypical treasure.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Wouldn't you have just been so excited if you found it?
You know what? If I were... Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, and this feels different than like lottery winners that just get it instantly because there was work behind this. So I feel like it's not going to have the same effect as the lottery. Because remember when you asked me, like, wouldn't you like to win the lottery? And I was like, nope, no, thank you. If you had said, would you like to get $1 million via treasure hunt? I'd be like, yep, I'm in because there's the hard work behind it.
Yeah, and you're invested in the process as well.
Yeah. And how many years do you say it went on?
Like 10 years.
Man.
Yeah.
That's a big
I love
hunt.
stuff like that. What a
I do
cool
too.
idea. I wish nobody had gotten hurt, of course, but it's a great idea. And I think a lot of, they interviewed one family in the video I saw who said that they felt like this was the last page of their favorite book because now the hunt is over. They were looking for it, but they didn't find it.
We need another thing like this. If I were like a real, like a, now I guess it would have to be like multimillionaire and I had like, and maybe it would be one of those situations where I'm like, nah, my kids don't need a trust fund. They need to work for it. I'm going to take my money and I'm going to buy some treasure and I'm going to bury it.
Now, see, that would be kind of cool.
It would be the coolest.
Your kids would hate you for it.
I know, but you know what I'd say to them? I'd be like, well, if you were paying attention and you would know what these clues meant and you should go find it.
You should go find it. Right.
Yeah, I'm like, find the bird. Then you
it.
could, you could have it. It's there.
Wow,
Just
you're
go
tough.
get it. I know, please. You thought it ended with just chore charts? Even
Treasure
even
hunts.
after the great, even from the dead, I'm still.
Yeah, you're like, you want your allowance? Go fucking find it.
Go find it. Oh my God, that is so funny. Oh, that makes me laugh a lot, Suze.
Okay,
Oh, my
next
cheeks.
up. This is courtesy of a brainiac named Claire who posted that there is a group of people who subscribe to a religion that I had never heard of, where they worship Severus Snape from the Harry Potter books.
Yeah, this makes sense.
And so they believe and they say that they're all sister wives of Snape. They're all married to him. And they call themselves Snape wives or Snapists. And Snapist seems like a bad choice.
Snapist is too close to a lot of things. Sniper, rapist.
Rapist, right. And then they believe, so oftentimes you hear this with the Bible, that people believe that the authors of the Bible were inspired by God to write this message. So the message itself is inspired, but they don't think that it's inerrant. Because some fundamentalists think the Bible is inerrant, that it's the literal word of God. And then other people think, well, God inspired it, but it's, it's got human flaws. So they believe that the Harry Potter series was inspired by the spirit of Severus Snape. But
oh, Lord.
J.K. Rowling made some fuck-ups, so that's why he comes off real bad in the book.
Oh, my God. This is like their
great?
Bible. Okay. I'm going to guess that these women are about... Okay, what year did Harry Potter first come out where we saw this actor come on?
Was it like 2001?
I'm going to need to know because that matters for the math. They're going to be 13... They're going to be... However,
oh my
whatever
God,
year it
Sarah.
about came out, this is their Jeff Goldblum.
I get what you're saying.
100%. This is the guy that did it for them. They got all the feely feels down there. They're a little odd, like a couple, and all it took was a few people were denied. Please, I have patches about. I have made wallpaper dedicated to Jeff Goldblum. All these gals did was start their own religion. That's only a few moves away, Susie. I'm in a fan club.
You think that they're not devoted enough?
Yeah. I'm like, do you have patches? Are you in a fan club? I mean, really, a fan club.
You don't even care about Snape. It's so hilarious.
So that's my theory on this. This is so much funnier than I ever imagined it would be. Because at first, I was going to be like, okay, now I'm annoyed. And now I'm like, yeah, I get this. Yeah, I see where this is coming from.
You feel that because I'm walking into it thinking like, can you believe these crazy bitches? And you're like, they don't even care about him. They don't even love him.
This is their like entrance into like sexuality. And
I get what you're saying.
Yep. And there's a little bit of fear and danger in there.
Yeah, he's a bad boy.
Just like Jurassic Park. It was kind of scary with the dinosaurs. So I had like increased arousal from just the fear response. And then you overlap that with the like tingly sexual feelings. And it's a recipe for an addiction to lifetime dedication and like deitizing them. There you go.
That is so interesting, because I really was going to be like, Sarah, explain this to me.
That's a mic drop right there.
Like how otherwise normal people could engage in this sort of insanity, but you really put it into perspective there.
Yeah, I bet I would love to find out the age of these women. I guaranteed they hit they sexual. They're like coming of age.
Yes,
lines up.
Okay.
Mic
well,
drop.
if any of our listeners are Snape's wives or Snapists, can you please let us know your age?
Yes. Now, this is different than Harry Potter fan. This is like...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, just so we know.
Something I'm a fan of, without a doubt, is Ritual vitamins.
Oh, so much.
We are so into them because, unlike all other vitamins, they're not disgusting. I love how that's the baseline for vitamins. Right. Because a lot of them really stink and taste like crap, and
like
these
actually
don't.
stink, like smell. Right.
Yes.
Just making sure we know we're being literal here.
Yes, these are minty. As soon as you open up the bottle, you're like, oh, these smell great, and they're pretty, and they go down, and they do not make you sick because they're time released, so you can even take them on an empty stomach. High quality ingredients. They fill in the gaps for all the ways that your food may not be doing the trick, and so you can take care of your body and not be disgusting with your gross vitamins that make you sick, like they do to me. Daily changes can lead to big results, so start small today. Ritual is offering our listeners 10% off your first 3 months. Try it out, satisfaction guaranteed. I should say, by the way, that they are delivered right to your door on schedule, so you never have that thing where you're like, oops, I'm out of vitamins, and then you just stop taking them. Go to ritual.com/braincandy to start your Ritual today. That's 10% off during your first 3 months at ritual.com/braincandy. Okay. So, but like some of them get a lot of crap because they're married to real men, and so then they say that their husbands get possessed by the spirit of Snape when like they're banging.
Oh my God.
What would you say that is?
Well, I mean, all of this is just like you have a bunch of people agreeing with you in the same thing, and it's like I can just imagine them all hanging out together or talking over Zoom or something, and being like, don't you don't you wish that our husband could just be Snape? Yeah, I wish that like our husband, it could just be like Snape comes over and he just empowers and it's really him. And you know what? Most of the time when I have sex with him, I just pretend that it's him. It really is like he does. Yeah, it is like he does. And then they start like going up, and it's that
it grows.
Yep. I mean, that's my guess.
Because I mean, I guess there is, fantasy can be great. But I guess they just take it a little further than most people. So then it seems odd and kind of disturbing.
Yeah. And you have to look at all the other things, like zoom out and find out, like, what else is going on. If these are people who are currently feeling, like, isolated or disconnected, and this is giving them a sense of community, then their likelihood to kind of, like, adapt or buy into maybe beliefs that are things like, you just want to be part of the group. So you're going to, like, just agree. And it feels so good. Great. Yeah. This was a great story.
So thanks, Claire, for posting that on Twitter.
To Claire. What if she's, like, the leader of them?
She's not. Because I was like, I'm definitely talking about this on the show. So
that's funny.
She's fine with it.
Shout out to Claire, who's not the leader of the Snapists.
The Snapists, yes.
Which really needs some rebranding and therapy.
Do you want to hear about a guy who faked his voice for 2 years to impress a girl? Or
oh, my God.
A mannequin in a fun house that actually was a corpse?
Oh, my God. The mannequin in the fun house that was actually a corpse. What?
Okay. This was also sent to me on Facebook
Susie,
by a Brainiac. Yes.
Our Brainiacs are... This is gold. You guys are killing it.
Get
These
it?
stories
Killing
are...
it?
Okay, yes, I do get that. Killing it.
They're great. They know us very well.
Mm-hmm.
And they know what we would love. And in this case, this was on that site called That's So Interesting, or All That's Interesting, or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, so one day in, I guess, the 60s, a film crew for the $6 Million Man, I think that's the name of the show, came to films at this fun house. They were filming an episode, and one of the people on the crew needed to move this mannequin, or what he thought was a mannequin. And when he moved it out of the way, its arm fell off.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
This
is like out of American Horror Story.
It really is. Can you
imagine?
This
doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No, I can't imagine, actually.
So
I've seen Law and Order. I've seen CSI, and every time I see something like that, I'm like, oh, for Pete's sake, that's such a stretch.
It's not believable, right?
This is that crazy.
Yes. So they saw, of course, that the arm was an actual human arm, and of course were appalled. And so they did some deep diving on how this happened. How do you end up with a corpse at your funhouse on accident? Well, evidently, this was a robber, I guess in the early 20th century, who ended up dying during one of his bungled robberies.
Yeah,
heists.
heists.
And then the body was never claimed because this guy was just like a drifter or something. So the Undertaker embalmed him and decided to display him for people to put nickels in its mouth. So that's the first step in this story.
Right. A question. Yeah.
Like, what kind of an Undertaker has that kind of, well, I guess maybe it comes with the territory. I don't know.
We say, like, what's he designing? What's he making over there? A vending machine?
I guess.
What's he supposed to get? Like, you put the nickel in and what happens?
I guess maybe he just wanted to make money. I don't really know. I don't know.
It's like a wishing well?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
But he was like, I got to up the,
But it was
no
a
pennies
human
here.
body.
I need nickels only.
So some carnival owners saw it and they wanted it, but they didn't think they'd get the undertaker to go for it. So they pretended to be family members of the deceased. And
This is a crazy
Caper.
freaking story. Like, how do they even know? And what? Okay, more. This is crazy.
After that point, then it kept getting passed along. Like, I guess when that amusement park closed, or carnival or whatever, then they must have sold everything to another one. And it ended up going to an amusement park near Mount Rushmore. And then it ended up at the Hollywood Wax Museum.
Oh, my God.
And then eventually, at the filming of that show, they realized it wasn't fake. So I think everyone after the first carnival thought it was fake. When it was, and they probably wanted it because it looked so fucking realistic.
Oh, my God. And then it's like looked at as something different. It's looked at as like, what is it called? Like memorabilia, like circus and like freak sideshow memorabilia. And or not, was that the word I'm looking for? Like
an attraction, basically. That's
but like when they take that stuff, then they put that in a museum, and it's like
oddities and stuff.
Yeah, like that. But it's like, wow, can you believe that people actually, put this kind of stuff on display? It's like a freak show about the freak show,
exactly.
In a way. And
but I guess after that first one, then people were just like, wow, that mannequin looks sure spooky. We should get it. And then without knowing that it was truly a dead guy.
Shout out to the embalmer.
Yeah, he did some good work.
And if you've been passing around a body for that long,
the embalmer.
I don't think we're giving credit where credit is due. I mean,
clearly was a real craftsman.
Guy did a good job because that thing is, and I'm imagining they didn't keep it temperature controlled. So,
oh my God,
we've got a dead body that's been floating around for years, and it's not stinking up the place.
Well, and who knew that embalming was that effective for that long?
Some would say the ancient Egyptians, but.
Well, they were a
Some
little
would
more
argue
thorough.
all of Egypt. I'm just kidding.
The way we do it is
they do
different.
mummification, right? That's totally true. Someone's gonna be like, Sarah, they don't even embalm them. I do remember the smell of what embalming fluid smells like, and it's the worst smell ever.
Like formaldehyde or what?
Oh, maybe that
What
is it. Because remember, did you ever have to dissect frogs, or did you do like a fetus pig?
And
that was an awful day for me. I totally tried to protest that. I was like that girl.
Imagine how upset you would have been if you'd gone to this fun house.
Oh, my God.
I mean.
Yeah. Ooh, gross.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
That's
that smell
the story.
doesn't leave your nose. That's such a good one. A+. Thank you.
A+.
Who sent this in?
I forget the name of this person, but thank you to the Brainiac that sent that.
Yeah.
We get so many great stories from our Brainiacs, and I also get so many great stories from the New Yorker.
Oh, same.
I mean, they have something for everyone.
They really do. I have been eating it up lately. There's been good stuff.
Yeah. What I love about the New Yorker is they do such thorough work. So if you really want to learn about a subject, that's a great place to start. So if you really were looking up some of the things going on in the world today and we're like, I want to know the facts, well, look no further. And they have stuff on every category. So whether you want fiction or reviews or cartoons or politics or whatever you're into, they've got it. They're doing amazing work right now. And I feel like now is the more important than ever to support journalism.
Yes.
I'm very committed to this. I keep adding more and more subscriptions to my list. And you can get such a great deal. This is 12 weeks of The New Yorker for just $6. So you get a limited edition tote bag, home delivery of the print edition each week. So get 12 weeks of The New Yorker for just $6, plus the limited edition tote at newyorker.com/braincandy. You'll save 50% when you use our code BrainCandy at checkout. What a great deal. $6.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yep. I just saw a funny one of their cartoons that came out, I think it was today, and it was a picture of Christopher Columbus's statue floating at the bottom of the ocean, and it said, Christopher Columbus finally discovers uninhabited land.
Finally.
And I was like, that's a great cartoon.
That's a good one. I'm going to find that.
It was real clever.
Oh, okay. Next up, would you like to hear about the guy that faked his voice? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, because this was one of my favorite hilarious moments on Parks and Recreation, where Tom, the character played by Aziz Ansari, he fakes a British accent when he meets this woman that he really likes. And then he has to, like, undo it. And that's the most hilarious.
That happened to a real friend of mine who pretended to be Scottish when he met a girl.
What a weird choice.
I know. Yeah, right. I don't know.
But he's just good at a Sean Connery impersonation.
I think he was probably just really good at it. And then he had to keep it up for like a year. And then
oh my God.
Eventually she found out and, of course, was furious.
Because like you and I say all the time, it's not the thing, it's the lie.
It's the lie.
What is it? It's the cover. Yeah, like it's like the lie about it. And
right, like I always say with Bill Clinton, like if he just got a blowjob from somebody and admitted it, he would have never been impeached. It was the lie that got him impeached. But
okay, tell me.
Okay, so this was from Reddit, where they have a whole subreddit called, I think it's called "Am I the Asshole?" And
that's funny.
You write like what's going on in your relationship. And people get to say,
good.
Yeah, like whether you're
the
problem.
Is you. Yeah. Ooh, that's good.
So in this case, a woman had been dating a guy for a couple years. They met online, and for a long time he was avoiding a phone call. And you know how that's like a red flag where you worry about getting catfish. So she was insistent, like, we have to talk on the phone. Like, I really want to know who you are. And he's like, well, I'm embarrassed of my voice. And then when they got on the phone, she said it was like husky. And she thought, well, I like your voice. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little husky. Well, the truth was it was husky because he was faking a low voice, because his real voice is like super high pitched, like a Muppet.
Okay.
So he was just doing this low voice. And she was like, I don't know what the big deal is. You sound great. And so then he had to keep it up. And so they even moved in together, and he's still doing the low voice. And then one day, he kept having to do the stuff where you, like, don't want her to meet your family and friends.
Oh, yeah, because people will be like, why are you talking so funny?
Yeah, so he kept lying about all that and avoiding it. And then finally he's like, you need to call your mom. You haven't talked to her in so long. Just call her up. And then when he got back inside after he spoke to his mom, he must have forgot. Or had like
he talked in his normal voice.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she laughed.
Oh, no.
Because she thought he was doing like a joke.
Of course she did. Of course. And then that doubles. Oh, this is so bad.
I know.
Oh, okay.
And so he's devastated, and now he's back to like faking it, and then he goes in and out, like where sometimes he does the low and sometimes he does the Muppet voice. So what is your opinion if you were this woman?
I am so glad you asked, because I have a million things to say. Okay. So here's why I think we shouldn't be that mad at this guy in this situation. Okay. Because what this reminds me of, and I know it's a different situation, of course, but of people who are transgendered and they change their voice to match the sex that they closer identify with. And vocal training is a real thing that a lot of people do. Remember when we watched that documentary, I think it's called Do I Sound Gay?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And it was all about people who would go to there was a vocal coach who would like work with people to train their voices to sound more masculine.
Yes.
All this guy needed was a voice coach. And instead he tried to DIY it, which doesn't work.
DIY.
And I feel really sad for him, because this was like shortened larynx or something that was like a physiological condition that he was made to feel ashamed about. And then in trying to, it's like somebody who's short who's wearing heels or like lifts, or this is like him trying to, so I was thinking you were like he's putting on a British accent or something and being like a dickhead like that.
Okay,
This is just somebody who was feeling embarrassed, or this is like the girl who stuffs her bra. Mm-hmm. And I don't
even think it's that bad.
It's, yeah, right. You know, because, like, he's really trying, and I feel really bad for him. And then when she laughed, because that's, like, his biggest fear, is that she would hear, he loves this woman, and she would hear his real voice. Can somebody send them my number so I can give them therapy? Because I'll really help them, and they should work it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a really good point, because I didn't think of it in that way. I was just focused on the fact that he had to lie about so many things to accommodate this problem.
And then I think, wow, this must have been something he truly felt shame about and felt embarrassed about, for him to go to such lengths that he would isolate, that he would, prevent her from meeting his family, that he would cut himself off from all of those other things because this was so important.
Right. Okay. So what about, though, let's say he's sort of come out of the vocal closet.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he just thinks, well, I'm going to just talk like my normal voice now. And she hates it, and she's like repulsed by it. What would you say?
But clearly he hates it too.
Right.
So he should go, and he should go to vocal training, or he should go in and check out to see if there's any kind of surgery that he can get to, like, lengthen or shorten his vocal cords.
Yeah, because that is a real problem. Like, some people do have issues with their vocal cords where a muscle doesn't work or whatever, and it changes the register and tone of your voice.
Yes.
Ah, that's interesting. Well, I can't imagine that she's going to stick with this guy, but everyone agreed she's not an asshole.
Right, and I do agree she's not an asshole, but it's all one of those things where, like, I think there's more to this, and if we just take this, like, I would have a totally different feeling about it if it were, like, you know, your friend who faked the Scottish accent. And I'm like...
It's weird, because I kind of feel bad for those people, too, because when they first do it, they just think it's funny. They don't realize that it's going to be a serious relationship, and then
do they think it's funny, or is it like, and they even talked about this on Parks and Recreation, even though it's just, you know, TV show.
Yeah.
But he said he met this woman, and she's like a doctor for, like, Doctors Without Borders or something like that. Amazing. And he's like, I just thought you would never go for me, regular me. Like, I wanted to make myself seem more interesting because I thought you would never like me. Like, I feel like the need to do that comes from a place of, like, low self-worth and doubt and shame, and not enough. And so I feel like, and also, if that's at the root of the relationship, if the feeling of, like, not being enough is somehow, like, driven itself into, like, the formulation and the foundation of the relationship, then the relationship doesn't stand a chance, because that's not solid ground to start. That's
yeah, right.
You know, you got to feel, both people have to feel like they can be the thing I love best about my relationship, which is what I love best about our friendship, and what I'm sure you love best about your marriage, is that we could be 100% ourselves.
Yeah.
And that feeling like you can't be that, or being judged for that, or that, like, you know, whatever it is.
Well, and I think that feeling of truly being yourself in a relationship is actually more rare than we think.
Oh, for sure. Because foremost, you have to allow somebody to see your true self.
Right.
For example, not put on an affect or change your voice.
Right. And that's
so you
really
have
scary.
To first, yes, you have to be transparent, vulnerable, and authentic in order to be accepted for being authentic.
Right.
Ooh.
Well, I wonder what's going to happen with these two, because to me, there is hope, but it feels like they would have a lot of work to do, especially
a lot of work. Mm-hmm. But it needs to be coming from a place of compassion. Like, somebody needs to understand and have, like, see and explain it. You know, because oftentimes the thing that people get reactive about in a relationship comes from the other person feeling inadequate, or feeling like they have to defend a part of themselves that feels hurt. So if you can get to that part that feels hurt, and, like, talk to the hurt part inside that made them do whatever it is, then there's compassion. Then the other person, who's, you know, often, like, the victim of whatever that action was, can have a little more compassion for maybe why they did that.
Right.
Yeah, given that it's not something that's, like, actually hurting the other person.
Yeah, it's just superficial and not about one's true identity or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, glad we got that settled.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right. Well, I going to bring on a guest. I have interviewed an author named Sarah Fryer, who wrote the book that we did in our book club last month called No Filter, which is about the story of Instagram.
Yes.
Really great book, especially if you're into technology, social media, and then how it affects your own behavior in your life. Like the choices that Instagram made along the way will have informed the type of pictures that you put up, how we see filters and influencers and monetization of those things. It's really fun to learn about because this is all having an impact on your life without you realizing it if you use social media. And so that's fascinating. And she did a great job in the book. And I love that it's about business and technology and it's written by a woman, which is unusual. So she kind of frames it as, this isn't a tech story, this is a human story. And I love that. So I will invite her on. Before I do that, I wanted to quickly tell you about, with everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter, you're seeing a lot of articles come out, discussing it and stuff. And I saw one that was different than all the others, which is written by a woman who is a white woman. And she was describing how, like, in her lifetime, she'd probably been pulled over like 3 times, like a normal amount for a white person. And, was always let go, never got a ticket or whatever. And then sounds crazy, but she got a black poodle who looks like a person in the car. And all of a sudden started getting pulled over all the time. Oh
my God.
Yeah. Especially at night, because it really is hard to tell at night what's going on in the car. But it looked like there was a black person in the car with her. So she kept getting pulled over. And it was always for, like, I forget the phrase, but it's the thing where you're going like a couple miles under the speed limit. I think it's called impeding traffic. Like, not even a thing.
I'm so mad about this for like fucking.
So one cop pulled her over and he goes, "Who's in the back?" And she said, "No, my dogs." And he said, "Get them out." And he made her get her fucking dogs out of the car because he didn't believe her. And then he was annoyed because, of course, he was wrong. He had, what did they call that? Profiled.
Yeah.
A dog that he thought was a black person.
Oh, my God.
And then the dog...
That's gross for a million reasons.
Right?
1 million.
And then the dog died and she's not been pulled over ever again.
Oh, my... Wait, did my aunt write this?
Why?
Because she is a white lady that has a black poodle that just passed away.
Oh, my God. Well, you should ask her.
I'll definitely ask her. And I'm going to ask her about her being pulled over because she's crazy.
Because that is something that white people really... We're not pulled over usually for no reason.
Right.
And even if it is a reason, we're often given a warning.
I'm so mad about that.
But I thought it was interesting.
Keep fighting and fighting forever and calling out all these things. And you know what? Ren and I were talking because when you use analogies or when you tell stories like this and it seems ridiculous or like laughable, or that's when you know. I mean, like if you don't know already, there's a big fucking problem.
Yeah.
You know, we say that when we talk about things when you switch the gender, and if it sounds laughable for a woman, then it's a problem. It's the same thing with
But if you told Ren this story, he'd probably be like, "Yeah, of course. Like, this makes total sense." To us, it's like that can't be true.
Right.
But it is true.
Keep staying wise and alert, and fighting the good fight, man, and calling these things out.
Yeah, and I really appreciated her writing that too because she learned something from it. Yeah. And now she can teach other people, which is great. But anyway,
cool.
You should definitely check out Sarah Fryer's book called No Filter about the story of Instagram and welcome her to the show. Hello, Sarah. I'm so excited to have this author on today. Sarah, is your last name pronounced Fryer?
Fryer.
Yeah, Sarah Fryer. No Filter, the inside story of Instagram is her tremendous new book. I cannot wait to pick your brain. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you guys.
You're such a superstar. I am saddened that you're reduced to like the quarantine book tour, but I'm just delighted that we get to have you at least. How does it feel, though, to be promoting a book during this weird moment?
It's strange because you can't see who's reading. So I've been living for every single social media post of someone reading the book. I just imagined at this point in time, I'd be able to like sign copies for people and meet them and hear their thoughts. And we'll get to that one day. But for now, I'm just, connecting with people virtually.
I mean, I suppose it's, apropos that you would be having to do that considering the content, but it is such a bummer because you toil away for so long doing the interviews and writing, and then now it's supposed to be the fun part where you can like interact with the people that have enjoyed it. But tell me this. Why did you think you were the gal for the job of this Herculean task of documenting Instagram's story?
So I have been covering social media companies since Facebook's IPO, since 2012. And I knew all of the drama of Facebook, of Twitter, of Snapchat. And I realized that I had a hole in my knowledge that when I started asking myself about the story of Instagram and how it was working within Facebook, we really only knew what the company had told us, which is not where you want to be if you're a reporter. And I was trying to, when you're competing as a reporter, you're always trying to figure out what are the stories that nobody's thinking about telling that we should be. So when I was evaluating my blind spots, I started digging into Instagram and I thought, well, maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe it won't. It was much more interesting than I could have possibly imagined. And the reason why is when you look around at your world, at the things people are doing in your life, the way it's changed over the last decade, you can see the impact of Instagram in a way that you can't necessarily see the impact of Facebook or Twitter. You can see people prioritizing experiences over things. You can see more travel, more restaurant photographs, more everything to do with presenting ourselves in this highly curated, highly conscious way to others and building an audience and a brand. And that just was not part of our culture as much 10 years ago.
I thought you so
and of course,
beautifully.
Because you have built this brand yourself. I mean, you certainly have understood the power of this platform for shaping everyone's life and the economy, really.
Yeah, but what you created in your book was such an impressive thing to me because in the dust jacket, it was saying that it's a human story. And I thought, how is this a human story? It sure as heck is, even when you're sort of creating this timeline of what went on in the business. But I, at least as a reader, would think, what was I doing at that time? And I could see, as you're saying, the reflection of these changes they would make along the way and then how it informed my own behavior. Does knowing that freak you out, or are you just cool with it?
It's kind of like, when you have a dream and then you wake up the next morning and then you think about why you dreamt what you did.
Yeah.
Like the people who were in it. I guess I saw that person on Instagram right before I fell asleep and that's why they popped up. It's that kind of thing when you're reporting and you learn not just about why things are the way they are, but the motivations of the people building that way. And you realize that so much of it is personality. It's driven by ego. It's driven by people just trying to succeed, whether it's the people using Instagram trying to succeed or the people building the product succeeding in competition within Facebook, against Snapchat, all of these ways that they maneuver to try to build the product the way they did.
I like how you pointed out how in the cultural perception, we see these Silicon Valley people as geniuses and just masterminds and so calculated, but they weren't and they aren't really. Oftentimes they're flying by the seat of their pants and don't have all the answers. Did that surprise you, or you've been doing this long enough where you realized that was true?
Well, this project was interesting because the people that I've interviewed so many times in my life, in some cases, were more emotional when they were talking to me. And I think there's something about asking people not what's going to happen next. I need to break the news about the next big product or the next big change or the next big accountability problem with regulators or investors, whatever it might be, and start asking people like, why did that happen the way it did? How are you feeling in that moment? And then you sort of unravel all of these all of these moments in people's lives. Like one example is that one of the earliest investors in Instagram was Jack Dorsey, who is currently the CEO of Twitter. Dorsey had just been kicked out of Twitter. There was a tension at the time with the board and the other co-founder, Ev Williams. And Kevin Systrom, who knew him from interning with him at the company that invented Twitter, asked if he could be an angel investor in Instagram. And nobody had ever asked him to be an angel investor in anything before.
So weird.
So he was like super touched that someone thought he was smart enough to be an angel investor, right? And like you think about it like, oh, well, of course Instagram became a huge competitor of Twitter, and like, was that smart? No, it was just personal. It was like he really believed in it. At that time, maybe Instagram could have been acquired by Twitter instead of Facebook. And he became like the biggest cheerleader for this product. And then when Instagram sells to Facebook, he's absolutely heartbroken. He deletes the app from his phone and never posts there again.
Yeah, it felt so sophomoric, but it's what you're saying. These are just human beings with emotions and feelings, and we don't perceive them that way, right?
Yeah, they seem larger than life. And I think the other aspect of it is this debate between whether you should treat your users like numbers or like humans. And Facebook looks at us and tries to tweak our behavior on a dramatic scale. Like, if we tweak this notification, then maybe we'll get more people to use this aspect of our product. Or if we change the recommendation algorithm like so, maybe we'll get people to do that. And Instagram, when they were acquired by Facebook, had a very different philosophy about how to shape human behavior. They understood that if they wanted to do something that would really matter to people, they had to work with the people who had high following from the app. So they started deciding to curate people editorially at the @Instagram account, which still has more followers than any Kardashian. And they would host people and make them famous overnight. And then they would, behind the scenes, like, advise celebrities on how to use Instagram well, which ended up becoming a training ground for us and how we use the product and how we think about it and like what is Instagrammable in our lives. So it's just a very different philosophy about how you decide to build a product, and then that ends up affecting our behavior.
That's what was so strange through the story was I couldn't quite get a handle on, you know how you said that normally Facebook will acquire something and then strip it for parts. Why do you think they didn't do that with Instagram?
They realized that Instagram had something different going on that they couldn't really replicate within Facebook. They tried to build a photo app and it didn't catch on.
Yeah.
But most of all, they realized that that was the only way that the founders were going to come over, because Mark Zuckerberg had been turned down by the CEO of Twitter. He had turned down Yahoo in 2006 when they offered $1 billion. And so he knew that again, we're talking about personality. He knew that if he wanted to get a star entrepreneur to join his team, he needed to present it as a path where he would still get to be seen as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, as like a visionary, and have his little fiefdom within Facebook that Zuckerberg agreed not to touch. Now, of course, over time, that independence really waned when Zuckerberg got jealous of Instagram. But I think that was what he was attempting to do, is like really draw them in. And after he was able to do that with Instagram, that became his pitch to every other entrepreneur. He tried to acquire Snapchat, that failed, but it did work with WhatsApp. He acquired WhatsApp by telling them they could be independent just like Instagram.
And do you think that
huge?
His intention is to honor that, and then it just doesn't always work out that way? Or do you think that he's selling a bill of goods?
Well, I think in recent years, it's been harder for Facebook to need to make that argument with anyone because they're under antitrust scrutiny. A lot of governments are looking at whether Facebook has too much power. So it's unlikely that they would be able to like do another Instagram type acquisition. And with that off the table, I mean, that was their big carrot. With that off the table, Zuckerberg is much more interested in making sure that Facebook becomes a long-lasting mega network with more power and a bigger infusion of people into the main advertising system, the main money maker.
I was struck throughout this story of how emotional it made me. Like, I felt sad about the relationship between Facebook and Instagram, and also like the dissonance between what maybe the founders of Instagram wanted and then like what actually happened. Did you feel that way? Or is that my just projecting?
No, I think you're right. I think that, what's interesting, I had this experience last year when I was reporting this out. Instagram employees coming to me and telling me that they were so sad that the product now feels like a mall. Like every time you go to Instagram, you're getting sold to, people are promoting something. It's really just like commercialized. And really, they built this to be a window into people's lives, to build empathy in the world. And they were worried that it's not actually achieving its purpose anymore. Well, when I was meeting with Instagram employees and we're talking about Instagram shopping, they're like, what if we turn Instagram into a mall? Because then, remember how like it used to be, we would go to the mall and we'd window shop and everyone could like hang out there, but you don't necessarily have to buy something, but it's just really fun.
Yeah.
And to me, it was just like, wow, this company has changed. It's changed us, but it's also changed internally.
Yeah.
And the way that they see their future, they're really leaning into the commercialization of Instagram. They're working on building it into something that has more direct ties to shopping. And I think that's it's just going to be different. It's just even right now with coronavirus, Instagram is changing so rapidly. It's not as much about showing off that great experience you had at a cocktail bar or the most beautiful sunset on your vacation. It's about empathy.
And kind of like trauma bonding too, And
trauma bonding, sad fishing, whatever you want to call it. It's like, it's like this sense of like, let's check in on each other.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere to escape. So let's just talk.
Yeah.
And let's do live video, live tutorials. Let's do more direct messaging. I think there's really been a spike in direct messaging on Instagram. And if there's anything we've learned from this crash course, this global crash course in personal branding on Instagram that we've had over the past 10 years, and how to get more likes and how to get more followers and how to like make it in this crowded world of everyone trying to build their own selves up. There's a little bit of empathy in there. There's a little bit of understanding what people want to hear from you. And that if you post something that will make people upset or angry or sad, that would be actually bad for your metrics.
Do you think that Systrom regrets selling it to Facebook?
I think that he regrets how it ended. I think that he realizes that I think part of him wants to know that if he were to do it on his own, he could have done it and he could have done it just as well.
Right.
But I think that there were some, if you really think about it, there are some huge benefits to Instagram, to being part of Facebook. And I think the biggest one is that in the last few years of this major reckoning for social media companies, Mark Zuckerberg testifying for 10 hours in front of Congress, Jack Dorsey testifying, Kevin Systrom got to get his wine sommelier license. He got to go to the Met Gala. He got to learn how to fly a plane. What a life. It's much easier to be a CEO if you don't have to be accountable to the public as much. And I think that also might have caused us to have blind spots over Instagram and its power over our lives, and probably why this story that I wrote in my book hasn't been told yet. Because we think as a society, when a company is bought by another, that their story is over. But that happens in my book in chapter 3. And the story really begins after they join Facebook.
Yeah,
after
that's
they
when things
start to
get
figure out who
cooking.
they are. Yeah.
Well, probably one of the reasons why the story hasn't really been told is because of the obstacles involved in that you experienced in getting interviews. Tell me about that process. Right. And if you ever felt like this is not possible. Oh,
all the time.
Yeah.
It's a slow I was really nervous. I was just constantly nervous about getting to the root of what was happening at Instagram and what had happened in the past. In reporting, it's always a very slow process. You find one person, and that person, if it goes well, they might introduce you to other people, and then they might introduce you to other people. And so every day I tried to reach out to at least 5 people, and I tried to interview at least one person. And I just tried to be really regimented about this process and forgive myself for not having the full picture. I look back at my proposal, my outline, I thought maybe that this would be a story about like how Instagram was the future of Facebook or was going to save Facebook from its problems. I did not expect to find this tension between Mark Zuckerberg and Kevin Systrom. And I didn't expect that Instagram had such a dramatic pull over our culture, like directly, because we think about technology platforms as neutral. We think about them as like just a reflection of humanity. Whatever we want to see, they'll show us, but they're not actually deciding what is good or bad content. Instagram was deciding. They were promoting certain things to us. They were making human-led editorial decisions, curating things, trying to show us stuff that we wouldn't necessarily pick for ourselves that we might get into. And that was really different for me, like after years covering social media, to learn that. So as the more that I learned, the more that I tried to bounce those things off of other people. And the weird thing about reporting is that people are more likely to tell you something when you already know it. And and so you'll say like, oh, I heard that this happened. And someone will say, okay, well, that's not quite how it happened. It actually happened like this. And then you start to peel back the layers of the truth.
Did you feel like they're therapists sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people I talked to for my book had either never been recognized for the work they did to build this into what it is today, or they had a lot of angst and tension with the story that no one had ever really understood, especially those early employees with Instagram. They didn't get rich off the deal, and they've lived for the last 6 years with all their friends and family just assuming that they're millionaires, and they're not. And so it was a little cathartic to talk to a journalist about what that was like and what really happens.
I was of two minds about that. I understood, that they were new employees still, and maybe they hadn't earned, the millions. But it also felt hypocritical in the way that, how Instagram really didn't want to encourage people to monetize their feeds, and they removed some people from like the recommended list for leaning too far into sponsorships. And it felt like they get to make all the money and they don't want anyone else to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that is fair, because Instagram really was actually helping some people make money versus others. They were recommending people who then went on to get brand deals, but they didn't want to get directly involved. And that's changing, by the way. Instagram is just starting to test letting creators make money through IGTV videos. They're just starting to test letting creators make money through Instagram shopping. So they're starting to realize that there are multiple places to make content on the internet. And in this competition with TikTok and Snapchat and YouTube, they probably need to give some people a way to make a livelihood. But yeah, in the beginning, they were very against any sort of commercialization of Instagram.
Did your reporting change the way you saw or used the app or social media more generally?
For the longest time, Instagram was the only place where I could be myself, because I have a strange situation because I'm a reporter. So my life is basically hours on Twitter. And then on Facebook, I'm Facebook friends with all of these Facebook employees. So it's not like I'm posting about my life or anything I'm doing. So Instagram was the one place where I was just like posting from my vacations or my relationship or my food, and not worrying about whether it had any sort of professional purpose. And this is, all changed with the book. Now I follow really interesting people, though. I mean, my feed is very eclectic. I have one guy in Germany who puts insects on his face. I have an embroidery artist. I have kittens. I have a reindeer herder in Norway. I just like followed all these people that I talked to for my book or tried to talk to. And that's been really cool.
And that you feel like that enhanced your experience?
Yeah, I think it helps me as a reporter to see what different things people are trying. And for example, I was able to talk to a lot of travel influencers when coronavirus first hit, and getting to hear their stories about how they were trying to still present the beautiful idyllic scenes from their travels, even though their deals were getting canceled, their parents were worried about them and telling them to come home. All of these things were happening in reality that they weren't yet portraying on Instagram.
Wow.
And so having some insight into different corners of Instagram has helped me pick out stories like that I maybe otherwise would miss.
Did you receive any negative feedback from anyone you interviewed?
Actually, I have heard not that much negative feedback. Facebook said that they feel my book underemphasizes the great investments they have made in Instagram.
Oh my God, I love it. That's perfect.
That Instagram success is Facebook success. And so I feel like that is gentle, but not an endorsement, not a denial of what's in my story. So I felt pretty good about that balance of things. Kevin Systrom went on Bloomberg Television recently and said he hasn't had a chance to read the book yet, which I'm not sure if I believe, since I sent it to him in March, but we'll let him have that. We'll let him have that. It's a way to not have to respond.
Does it freak you out, or you don't mind whatever they think?
I don't mind. I think what I've learned over the years as a reporter is as long as you try to tell the truth, you do your best. You're not always going to get it right, but you can get as close as possible. Over time, the people who you critique and who you hold to account will respect you. And there's so many people who have maybe been on the other side of my reporting at Facebook, and then once they quit the company, they call me and want to have a drink and talk about what they've been through. And so I think it's good practice as a reporter to not worry too much about what the company's going to think. You want to care about what your readers are going to think.
Yeah. Well, I friggin' love it.
Thank you.
That's all
Appreciate
it. Do you feel like the Zuckerberg maybe jealousy towards Instagram or like ambivalence about their success was just like ego driven? Like Facebook's his baby, and so that has to be dominant, and everything else he wants to do well, but like not surpass.
I think a little part of it was that Facebook is his baby, or maybe a big part of it. It helped him rationalize the decision. When Facebook, the thing about data, the thing about running a company that is so driven by metrics, is you can kind of read the metrics however you want, it turns out. Mm-hmm. And when Zuckerberg went and said, we are going to run a study to see if Instagram is a threat to Facebook, he started that study in 2016. Well, when the numbers came out, Zuckerberg looked at them and saw Facebook fading within 6 months and maybe eventually to zero if things kept trending in the same direction. And Kevin Systrom saw, well, the whole pie is getting bigger, even if there's maybe a little bit of overlap between the Facebook audience and the Instagram audience. Aren't we trying to make Facebook Inc. bigger? And so you can even when it seems like a rational, logical decision, you can still disagree on what direction the logic should point you.
Right.
And so people who are close to Zuckerberg told me that absolutely felt that it was an emotional decision. But there were other things that made it helpful to him. He wants to build a big network. He wants the networks of Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Messenger to all be tied together, because he works off the data that says if you have more access to people, you might have more value derived out of the product. And
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's true because I think we tend to share differently with these different audiences.
Right. I think you should run the company. You should take over Facebook. I think that would be their only hope.
Tough dog.
What did you think of, in the introduction you shared, the quote that Zuckerberg provided for your book? What did you think about that?
I thought it was so appropriate. He says he bought Instagram because he wanted to help it grow.
I love that he was like, it's simple or whatever at the beginning.
It's simple. We thought it would have potential to grow. It's actually very, very, Zuckerberg was the only one who thought that Facebook should buy Instagram that quickly. And the fact that he wasn't willing to open up about how he felt, not just for the acquisition, but more generally about why he structured things the way he did at Instagram, is maybe an indicator that there's still some pain there, and there's still some feeling that he doesn't get the respect he deserves for helping build Instagram to this point.
Well, it certainly is a fascinating story, and it is not simple, as Zuckerberg may claim. And it is complicated, and it does inform so much of how we behave now in every way, and why I think your book is so important, and I want people to read it. What is your sort of prediction for the future of our lives online?
Instagram is going to become a lot more like Facebook. You're going to see more recommendation engine to put you down rabbit holes that you've already been down. You're going to see more prompts for you to go over to Facebook and experience Facebook linked to Instagram. You're going to see a lot more live video because of the rise of live during coronavirus, especially tutorial videos like workout training, cooking training, live performances from celebrities and music artists. You're going to see people reinvent new kinds of FOMO. I thought that coronavirus would be the end of FOMO, at least temporarily.
Right.
It's not true. Some people are really good at making sourdough bread. Some people who are really good at making home life look blissful. Or you also get to see into people's homes, and not everyone has space.
Right.
And you get to see the income divide. So I think that it's going to change even more from this moment, because as some people are able to return to the economy, other people are going to still be home. And you're going to have this divide in our society between people who can go out and experience things and people who are just consuming. And I think it's going to really change social media.
Well, I can't wait to observe it, despite the consequences we may see as a result. But you're such a talent, and your book is tremendous. And I hope you keep up the good work. And, I wanted to say before I wrap it up, I love that you're a lady, and I think ladies doing business reporting is so important, because I think that you're sharing a part of the story that we may otherwise not see. And I was wondering if you feel like you being a woman had an impact on the dynamic of the interviews that you did, or not.
I think so, at least a little bit. I think maybe people are less threatened by me in some ways. That they don't expect that I'll write something super critical because I'm a woman. I've been underestimated like that my entire career. I used to call it daughter zoning. I would interview investors, and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, you're like my daughter."
That is the worst.
They would say "Wow, isn't it amazing that you're able to cover big companies like ours? Should I explain server architecture to you again?" I'm like, "No, I know how it works, but kind of learn to navigate those things."
Yeah.
I also think that I don't know if this is a woman thing, maybe it's just a me thing, but I wanted to tell a business book in a different way. All the business books that I've read they tend to have a similar arc, like the founder as hero, bringing the company to success. How did he do it, right? And I think that if you want to tell the full story of a business, you can't just measure a company on its financial metrics. You can't just measure the company on its size and its growth trajectory. You also have to measure a company by how it makes its users feel, how we all feel when we're using the product, what it's changed about how our society works and the incentives people have in our economy. And so I hope that future business books are told more like this, where we talk to users and we talk to teenagers and we talk to parents, we talk to psychologists, and like all the people who intersect, who are stakeholders of the eventual growth of the product, but don't necessarily have a say in how it's developed.
Yeah. I just hope you keep telling these stories because I do think it's so important and you did a tremendous job. And I hope everyone reads it in quarantine, at least. Thank you so much for being on the show. We love you.